All right, folks. Once again, hello everyone. Thank you for joining in today. And I hope you're having a pleasant day so far, and are really excited for a brand new, Ask the Expert series organized by the Institute of Product Leadership. Now, my name is Vishal, and I'll be your host for today's session, with the titled "Ask the Expert: How Product Management is Shaping Careers in 2026." Now, yes. Now, before I begin today's insightful session, let me give a quick introduction to the Institute. The Institute of Product Leadership is Asia's first business school, providing accredited degree programs and certification courses in product management, product leadership, design, science, strategic, and leadership. Now, the Institute has partnered with multiple universities. It was founded in the year 2012 with a singular mission of creating 10,000 product leaders in this country. And ever since, the organization has designed, delivered, and programs in collaboration with various institutes, universities, and corporates to the senior working professionals to help them make career transitioning into product leadership. Now, the Institute has built and developed a community of over 4,500 plus successful alumni leading the product, data, and design teams for 600 plus organizations worldwide. Moving ahead, this is something I would be requesting everyone to scan the QR code, because this is a QR code given. I would like to quickly announce that, what are the programs Institute of Product Leadership offers, right? And we have variety of certification programs for your career objectives. Let me walk you through some of them. The current one which you are seeing is the International Certificate in Product Management, which is created and curated by the industry CXOs focused on learning and career outcomes for aspiring and current product managers, with many case studies, simulations, real life projects, and personalized coaching. So go ahead and scan the QR code to know more about the program. Thank you. Moving ahead. Now, this is basically the PGPM, we call as postgraduate program in product management, which helps you becomes the product and the business leader you would want to follow. You can harness the generative AI in every stage of the product lifecycle to enhance decisions, accelerate development, and drive innovation with our 12-month of live online learning by doing programs tailored for professionals who want to build global perspective and end-to-end leadership skills with specialization in product management, product design, product and digital strategies, product and growth marketing, data-driven products, leadership, new venture creations, and generative AI prompt crafting. Guys, I've been requesting everyone to please scan the QR code. This is all the QR codes. Thank you for the people who are joining recently also. Now, last but not the least, we have International Certificate in AI Product Management, which is aimed to make you an expert AI product manager to expand your influence, solve strategic problems, and future-proof your career. This program is for anyone in a product role, regardless of whether you use AI or not. Now, if you want to use AI to make a bigger impact at work, solve real business problems, and stay ahead in your career, this is a 12-week program curated by the industry leaders, where you will learn how to integrate AI into your product strategies, develop AI-based product features, and navigate the ethical and regulatory issues surrounding AI. You can find more about the institutes and the programs offered on our website. All right. Now, this is something, before going ahead with the introduction of the speaker, I would requesting everyone to please switch on your cameras on. I'm seeing Rajesh, Khushi, Nitin, Sir, Pinkesh, almost everything. I think that we are more than 30 plus people right now, requesting everyone to please keep your camera on. Thank you. Trust me. As last time also discussed, we won't judge at all. Please go ahead, guys. Please go ahead. Thank you. All right. Moment I have been waiting for. A quick announcement again. We are also streaming this live on LinkedIn as well. Folks, this is an AT. I am wanting to make it a complete informative questions. You can definitely, ask your questions to the speaker, and definitely, please, I was requesting everyone to please raise your hand before asking the questions so that I, as a host, can unmute you for the same. And people who are joining on LinkedIn, by the way, we are live on LinkedIn as well. Please post your questions in the chat box, in the comment boxes, and I will take ahead to the speaker. Thank you once again. All right. Moment I have been personally waiting for. Without any further ado, let me kickstart this session by welcoming and introducing our distinguished speaker for the session today, Mr. Pinkesh Shah. Now, Pinkesh Shah is a seasoned product executive with 25 years of plus experience in building successful products in startups as well as large global organizations. He's currently the founder and CEO of Delightloop, Most recently, he was a chief product officer and a marketing officer, chief marketing officer at Qualys, which is a NASDAQ registered company. Prior to this, he was the global VP of product management at McAfee in Silicon Valley. He's also been a guest faculty at several international reputed B schools like IIM Bangalore, Amsterdam universities, and many more. Very glad to welcome you over here, Pinkesh. Thank you so much for making yourself available. Over to you, sir.
Absolutely a pleasure. It's a lovely morning here for me in the US, and many of you who are joining from all around the world. Hope you guys had a fantastic day. I love seeing some familiar faces. Looks like Rajesh, I'm seeing you after a long time, so that's good. Good to say hello. Um, I do like the idea of turning your camera on. It is going to be a conversation. I have a bunch of slides, but honestly, the best value of our time together is when you ask whatever questions you have on your mind, and I'll try to give you candid, direct, unfiltered answers based on what I have seen in the last 20 years, more importantly, in the last 3 years, of how things have dramatically changed compared to the last 20 years in this context of product industry, careers. And what does that mean for you if you are either getting into this role or growing into this role? Is the conversation that I'd rather have, right? So happy to answer any questions. Ask questions as and when they pop in your mind. Don't wait till the end. And let's make it interactive. Yeah. So I'm Pinkesh, and most of my life I have been building products, building, launching, designing, category defining products in many cases. A lot of that was in cybersecurity with Qualys and McAfee and NetIQ type of companies. Some of them have been in the education space. And now I'm building something very recently. So I left my corporate role to build this new startup in the AI first world, which is a sales and marketing stack for experiential marketing. So that's what we call Delightloop. Happy to share some of the things that we're doing there as well. But in that journey, what I've noticed over the last 9, 10 years or so that I've been coaching and mentoring, at least 4,000 professionals now that I have had the pleasure to coach, mentor, teach. What are the observations? What are the dilemma that people go through, and how do you solve that, right? So I'm happy to share that summary of what I've learned in the last several years, especially in the context of what happens in India, but also globally, right? So that's kind of the game plan. Like I said, ask the question that's on your mind. If it's relevant to you, I'm sure it's relevant to a couple others on this call as well, and we can try and answer. If there's something very specific that you would like to discuss, set up a time. Happy to do a quick one-on-one with some of you after the call or throughout the week. We can set up a quick 5-minute, 10-minute call and walk you through or go through a little bit more closer conversation if you'd like to keep it more one-on-one. Right? So happy to do that. Let me share my screen. I also thought what I'd do, Vishal, and I should have asked for your permission and the team's permission at the Institute. But I thought not only talk about how product management careers are, how product management is changing, but how product management is changing others in the organization, right? There are two sides of this interesting topic. But I also thought I'll bring a real product manager who's working with this new venture, and how is he leveraging AI in a day in the life of an AI product manager by showing you live what we're actually doing, building. You want to go on mute?
Requesting
Maybe
Pragyan, please. I'm muting you. Sorry, please. Requesting everyone to please keep
yeah,
yourself on mute. Thank you so much.
he may not be aware that his microphone was on. Yeah. So I've also, if you guys are interested, I can actually invite a real product manager in action, show you maybe 5 to 7 minutes of the tools, the methods, the process that has changed in how he's operating and building a real product in the AI space, leveraging AI tools live, right? Instead of just PowerPoint, you'll actually get to see a day in the life of what we do. If that's of interest, give me a little thumbs up or something so I know that this is of interest, and I'll try to bring him into the conversation as well, right? So, okay, good. So I see Neeta, Vamsi, Sanjay, Natasha, Richa. Okay, enough people looks like are wanting to do that. So I'm gonna invite Harsha, and then Vishal, if you can give Harsha the presenters access once I maybe go through a few slides, some questions, and then we'll kind of do a live thing with Harsha, right?
Sure. Sure,
Okay.
sir.
So with that, I'm going to bring up a few slides and let me know if you guys are able to see that. Yeah, you guys able to see some slides? Okay, fantastic. So the way I understood this topic is there are two aspects and two dimensions to this topic, right? First is product management is changing. But second, which is more important and more looks like bigger impact, is how product management is shaping everybody else's careers inside the company. And this is very interesting. Very few people talk about this, but it's actually the summary of the whole conversation today. If I were to summarize that upfront, it's product managers are no longer just managing the product, but they're becoming product builders. So the word product manager, you're not just managing, you're actually building. And because the role is becoming as product builders, now it impacts the engineering teams. It impacts the UX teams. It impacts the marketing teams. And in some sense, it impacts the sales teams because a good product builder depends on the kind of product that you're building. But a good product builder is going to build a product that sells that sells on its own, which means I don't need an army of 200 salespeople, even if it's a B2B enterprise product. And so that's why the understanding of product management is so crucial in 2026, thanks to coding tools, thanks to the proliferation of LLMs, the advancements in what the maturity of some of these models, and the deployment of these models in real world scenario. All this in the last 6 months has led to a phenomenal change where every career is going to get impacted, with what is happening. Not just product management, but because of product management is changing, other careers are going to get impacted and are getting impacted. And we'll see a live demo where, if Harsha can maybe show, as a product manager, he's actually replacing 3 UX designers in a classic UX design sense. He's replacing maybe 4 or 5 developers in a classic product development folks, right? And so that is interesting dynamics that I think I'd like to share, and not to scare anybody, but to embrace that change that's happening right now. And more importantly, what do you do to ride that change, to ride that wave successfully, right? As opposed to getting impacted by it, how do you leverage that, right? That's kind of the whole outcome or conversation that I'd like to spend time, right? So hopefully that context makes sense. Stop and ask questions. I'm happy to go off topic or diverge from the slides and go into your specific questions. But at the end of the day, your next 30 minutes of investment in time has to produce ROI. Otherwise, we all just wasted our time here together, right? And so what the other message that I want to kind of convey is that first important trend is product managers are now product builders. And product builders has a much broader scope than just the classic product management that we've seen for the last 15 years. And I'll walk you through a framework and what that means in terms of skills and competencies. The second important thing that I wanted to emphasize that the careers are no longer linear. And this is very important in the Indian context because sometimes we are accustomed to this career path where you you are a developer, then you become a senior developer, then you become a lead, you become a manager, then you become a senior manager, you become a director, you become a senior director, you become a vice president. And there is a linearity in how we have always thought about careers, right? And same thing for product management. If I were to show you a typical product management chart, let me skip through and show you what a chart like that would look like. This is the classic chart that we've been used to for 25 years, especially the last 15 years. This is the chart that I've followed as I've promoted people, as I've grown and built teams in larger companies as well as, smaller companies, right? You start with a tech product management or a business analyst or a scrum master or a product owner, right? Different titles, but the role is still the same. And then you're going to move up to become an associate product manager, a product manager. And a difference typically means that, hey, an associate product manager is in charge of a feature, whereas a product manager is in charge of the entire release, the entire set of features, the entire set of product roadmap. And then you have senior product manager who is now not just looking at the inbound product management, which is, if you've ever seen that skill circle shades of blue, and those of you who've not seen this, this is what that skill circle looks like, right? So these are 25 competencies that every product manager globally is expected to have. If you've not seen this chart, I strongly suggest you take a screenshot or ask for a copy from the institute here. You can also search online. You'll probably find this. This is the chart that is used by thousands of professionals in thousands of companies, as their standard on how you define product management, right? And so this still holds true. This is not going away, but what I'm going to show you is what's going to add on top of it in a few minutes. So this shades of blue, coming back to the career hierarchy, the shades of blue that you see here is what we call inbound product management. Shades of red that you see is outbound product management, right? Also called product marketing or go-to market or growth marketing or growth product management, different titles people use in the industry. Those are the shades of red. So these are the 25 competencies that you see around the wheel that every global product manager professional should possess, should have demonstrable skills for them to grow in their career, right? So if you map this skill and if you map this circle back to what we were showing here, the senior PM is supposed to now have both blue and the red, right? The inbound and the outbound. And then you have group PM, which is managing other product managers. And you have director of PM, who's managing multiple products in a portfolio, right? You may have multiple products in a portfolio, and somebody needs to manage a portfolio. And so on and so forth, all the way till you become a CPO, where you manage all products across the company. And then eventually every CPO, gets to a CEO role or a general manager role, right? A CEO. By the way, I don't know if you know the statistics in the last 7 years, most CEOs in most companies come from product management. 15 years ago, that was different. Most CEOs come from sales roles. People who are in sales for a long time, usually they become CEOs. Not in the last 5 years, last 7 years. If you look at the statistics, most CEOs come from a product management role, right? And there's a reason why that happens. The reason is very simple. If I were to simplify and summarize, it's the cross-functional nature of what the CEO is expected to do is what a good product manager is trained on. A good product manager has the experience of working with finance, with marketing, with operations, with engineering, with design. And because of that cross-functional nature of skills that a good product leader has built, it becomes a natural candidate in today's world because the focus is on product. The focus is not on sales like it used to be 12, 15 years ago, right? And so that's the typical career path look like. Now, what I'm saying here is that in 2026 onwards, going back to what we're saying here, careers are no longer linear, which means you are actually jumping through these levels and hoops based on how fast can you demonstrate? You don't have to go and become a group PM to become a director of PM to then you become a directly a VP of PM. At the youngest age, I have seen product management leaders as young as 29, 30 years old. And age has no bearing because they're not going through and spending 6 years to become a VP. They're just jumping through. And so that's possible in today's world because of the first notion that product managers are builders. They build stuff. And now, when I say builders, let me qualify what that means, right? And there's a bunch of slides here. Happy to share some of these hierarchical, kind of requirements in terms of, hey, how do I know if I'm ready for a product management or a VP of product management role? A lot of people ask me this question: what do I need to do to become a vice president of product? And there's usually a guidance in the framework says, like, if you demonstrate these capabilities and if you have these skills, then you are probably ready to take on a role. Depends on the size of the company, by the way. Titles are misleading. A senior product manager, my funny story is a senior product manager in Google who gets a promotion, actually the other way around. A director of product management at Oracle who gets a promotion and let's say joins Google is called a senior product manager, which is which is funny because as a director you're supposed to become vice president, you're supposed to become senior director in title, but in Google titles are deflated, whereas in JP Morgan Chase, you start with an assistant vice president. And so each company has what we call title inflation and title deflation. So don't go by titles, go by roles. Because what one company calls a director is what another company calls, a senior PM, and vice versa, right? So when I'm using these terms and when I'm using these labels, I'm referring them to not titles, but roles, right? So keep that perspective in mind. So now, and there's a bunch of other things that you need to do beyond just the skill set that we saw here, right? The skill set that we're seeing here are functional skills, but there's also strategic acumen. There is strategic thinking. There is vision development. There is design thinking. There is data analysis. There is systems thinking. These are all leadership skills, and that is usually what propels you to grow in your career path, not just the product management core skill sets, right? And so also leadership skills in terms of your
Pinkesh,
communication.
this is
Yes,
Raghu. Sorry
yes,
for interrupting. So just a query. So you are telling, right? So this we should not go by the designations and we should go by the roles. So is
correct.
there any reason that the organizations are having these, like as you said, JP Morgan, we start with AVP, and for Google, it is only senior product manager when they are shifting from a bigger role. So is there any reason behind these titles that is being given to people?
Yeah, great question, Raghu. So what happens is classically the HR teams who must have sat down and created this ladder path may have been given either the wrong starting point or judiciously they have planned to create this inflation to attract better talent. So financial services, for example, and it's not just JP Morgan Chase, I'm just picking JP Morgan Chase, but you can look at Fidelity, you can look at State Street, you can look at Goldman Sachs, you can look at any financial services, most of them follow a inflated title. When I sat down with their CXOs many times, when their HR leaders I've interacted over the years, the rationale that I get from them, right or wrong, it is not my place to judge, but the rationale that I get from them is, hey, when somebody joins our company, we want them to feel that the title is the most important value, not the money. Right? Because you can excite people based on title, you can get excited people based on compensation. They feel that their philosophy is to excite people based on title. The second rationale I got is that a lot of times the financial services folks, they're handling money, they're handling people's wealth. And because they're handling people's wealth, the credibility of the title plays an important psychological role when you're handing over your money to manage to someone. So it feels good, quote unquote, that somebody who's a vice president is managing my money as opposed to somebody who's a senior manager, right? Just psychologically from a consumer perspective. And so sometimes financial services, that's the reason why and once they start using it, Raghu, there is no going back, unfortunately or fortunately, because now the whole industry has to follow. It sucks for somebody to go from JP Morgan to Goldman Sachs and have a title demotion. I've been told funny stories, especially in the context of India, that if I'm a vice president, I will get a better suitor for my marriage proposals because I'm a vice president. It doesn't matter whether I'm actually a vice president or not, but psychologically, these things play a big role. And so I'm not here to say what is right or what is wrong, but that's the context where each company has created their own internal ladder. And I wish this was all uniform, but different companies had different maturity levels. And so that's kind of how it has resulted into this chaos to some extent. Does that make sense, Raghu?
Yeah, yes, Pinkesh. It is like similar to how HDFC banks, ICICI banks, when a fresher is coming out of an
Correct.
MBA university, getting placed as assistant manager or
Correct.
manager, senior manager. So it is very similar
Yes.
to that.
Same thing, right? And so that's why it's misleading sometimes for each one of you as you seek your next career jump. Don't get lured by the title. Focus on the role. And what are you going to do? Of course, the compensation model that should supplement and that should be accompanying that growth. But titles are misleading. So do not go and make any judgment that a senior product manager in one company versus a director of product management in another company, both popular companies, both well-known companies, both large companies, that somehow the director must be more senior than the senior product manager. Do not make that wrong assumption, especially in product management, right? And furthermore, thanks to AI, now these roles are fusing, right? So a product manager, where let me go back to the grid since you asked the question. One of the grid, if you pay attention to this grid, one of them is user experience design, right? One of the elements or one of the skills or competencies that you need to show in this 25 is user experience design. Now, in the classic product management, you just had to know enough about UX design to work with another designer. In the 2026 model of product manager, you are becoming the product designer. Thanks to Lovable, thanks to Vercel, thanks to coding tools, thanks to Claude, thanks to other LLMs and AI models, you are now enabled to create an entire prototype, a good looking, functioning, working version of a software app within 16 minutes. Not 16 days, not 16 weeks, not with 16 people. You, as a product builder, as a product manager who's now called a product builder, are expected to learn and know how to do that, in the next 1 hour. And that is why this is no longer just a small skill. It is an amplified version in the 2026 version of the same skill set, which means I don't need 26 designers now in my team. I just need two, because the product builder is going to do the heavy lifting and the LLMs are going to do the heavy lifting, right? And so keep that perspective in mind. In fact, if Harsha is kind enough to show us, I'm going to request him to maybe do that later, where he can actually show you a live app getting built in front of you, exactly the way he's doing it right now with the Delightloop startup, right? So this is what we're doing today with a small team. We're building a startup that would otherwise take 20 people. Right? So that's kind of the key thing to understand, right? So two things, going back to
Actually,
what I said. First, product managers are now product builders in 2026. Second, product management careers are non-linear careers. You can now start making hoops and jumps. And the third, if I can skip and maybe show, and then maybe Natasha, I'll take your question, since you raised your hand, is something like this. So the question then is, hey, if I'm already a product manager, what skills should I be building so that I can ride this wave as an AI enabled product leader, as an AI first product leader? And the answer to that is this grid that you see on the screen, right? And I know there's a lot to consume here, but instead of turning this into a long lecture, I'll show you a bunch of frameworks. I'll give you something to take away so you can study this and look at it. One of the things, as you notice here, is prompt engineering, which I'm sure all of you on this call are experts by now. If you're not, this is the number one thing you start with. And when I say experts, I don't mean going to Chat GPT and just typing up in plain English what's on your mind today. That everybody can do. Even a 70-year-old grandma can do, right? What we expect every business leader, every engineering leader, every product leader, every design leader is to understand the nuances of prompt architecture. How to write a prompt is very important skill itself, because otherwise it's garbage in, garbage out, right? LLMs are smart, but they're only as smart as what you ask them and how you ask them, right? And so prompt engineering, rapid prototyping, like I mentioned to you, in fact, we'll try to show you a live example, and then also understanding the ethical oversight of how to do what we call explainable AI. AI is great. AI will do amazing outcomes and outputs on your interface. Can you now justify why this recommendation is actually unbiased and accurate? Can you show the proof of that AI's value mapping? Can you now look for inherent biases and fix those before the average consumer gets to see the outcome of your AI routine, the outcome of your feature, the outcome of your AI calculations, right? A lot of that considerations brings now a different kind of skill set in 2026 for the entire organization. So that grid is something that, now if I were to simplify that grid into three maybe buckets, right? So let me start with the first one. The first one is the generative AI. A generative AI skill set is essentially everything to know about how can I leverage the existing prompt engineering, existing LLMs, large language models, existing APIs to be able to create and construct something in lightning speed. You're not coding. You're not expected to be a technical person. You're not expected to learn Python. You're not expected to, I mean, it's good if you have an interest and you want to learn on your own, that's great. But that's not the expectation of an AI product manager in this context, to learn coding. However, we do want every product leader, every business leader, every product builder to understand the nuances of which model is good for what. The analogy that I can use is the chef analogy in your kitchen, right? Everybody in the kitchen can cut, but very few people know that there are 7 kinds of knife. One knife for each kind of cutting. There is a butter knife, very different than a serrated knife for cutting tomatoes, juicy vegetables. Very different than a flat knife, which is cutting cucumber. Don't try to cut a cucumber with a butter knife. You're not going to be able to cut a cucumber, or even if you cut a cucumber, it's not cut, it is butchered, right? And so each knife has its own application. Similarly, in the large language model, there are hundreds of models. Which one to use when, for what level of effectiveness, for what level of problem you're trying to solve, that technical knowledge you absolutely need to possess. Right? So it's understanding the applications of the technology, not being technical, is the difference here. So that's the generative AI. A lot of PMs, a lot of builders, a lot of professionals who come from sales and marketing and HR generally go and become a product manager through generative AI lens. That's their entry point into becoming an AI-enabled, AI-first product manager. The second one is your predictive AI, which is a set of AI skills where it is expected for you to understand a little bit more deeper of machine learning, data modeling, workflows, fine tuning, A/B testing, right? Why? Because here the accuracy of the recommendation engine that you're building, for example, or predictive engine that you're building, for example, is very important for you to understand, and you're working with other data scientists in the team. And you have to speak the language, otherwise you'll be lost, and otherwise you'll not have the understanding of what's going on. So this is where we strongly recommend that people who come from a technology background, and if they want to enter into the AI product management zone, you enter through this path. And then the third one is the domain experts. The whole world is going to become agentic, right? If you've not noticed already, you will start noticing that agents are replacing a lot of human repetitive work across every fabric of life, whether it's the Ola and the Ubers trying to drive and do self-driving cars, all the way to financial decision makings where robots and agents are managing your portfolio on Nasdaq or on Dalal Street, right? By automatically balancing and making decisions of trades on your behalf. So agentic motions are here to stay. And for the next 5 years, I see tremendous amount of. So as a product builder, you now need to orchestrate the agent. You are still the boss. The human is still the boss. Now, people predict all kinds of gloomy and doomy situations that 5 years from now, even humans will be replaced. I don't believe quite in any of those. Humans will still be in the decision-making role, right, for most part. However, knowing how to orchestrate agents and workflows and patterns and bringing the domain understanding is very important for you as a domain product manager to develop that agentic AI flow, because you understand the workflow of how humans operate and you're trying to create agents that mimic a human workflow. At the intersection of these three is your AI product manager. The product manager of 2026 is going to be extremely AI first, AI enabled, AI driven. And when we break it down, the buzzword of AI, you actually have three different components: the generative AI, the predictive AI, and the agentic AI. And every product builder, hence every product manager, is expected to be at the intersection, understanding. You may enter at one or the other places, but you have to learn all three to be able to be relevant and thrive, right? So that's the next details that I wanted to share. But I'll now go to, hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully this gives you a little bit of a prescriptive guidance on what to do. If you are already a product manager, how do you become AI enabled? If you're not a product manager and you want to become a product manager, become a product builder instead, because that's the new thing in 2026, and that's where the skill set grid that we talked about earlier for you, right? So if you're not a product manager yet, this is where you start. If you're already a product manager, well, this is where you now enhance and layer yourself, right? That's kind of the simple summary of what I just said. Hopefully that makes sense. Natasha, maybe we'll go to you now.
Hi, Pinkesh. Hi, can
Go
you hear
ahead.
me?
We can hear you. We can hear you, Natasha.
So I'm a product designer. So I wouldn't get into the AI bit right now. But tell me, how do you see a product designer entering the product management? What kind of a roadmap do you see?
I feel that this role between a product manager and a product designer is absolutely blurry and has already fused in many companies. In the next 2 years, next 3 years, I feel they will even have more overlap, more fused than ever before. So much so to a point where at some point you will have a specialist product manager who's doing product design. You'll have a specialist product builder who's doing more architectural and systems design, working with architects and technology people. You'll have a specialist product builder or a product manager who is more data product manager, who's working with data scientists and spending more time. So a product builder is almost like a top of the food chain, if you will. And based on your background and based on your passion and your interest, you can zero down into flavors, because there's only so many hours in a day that you can actually work on, right? And so, to me, the answer to your question is that every UX designer needs to start thinking cross-functional skills, techno-business skills, and hence product management and product building skills. On your own, Just as a UX designer, if all you are doing is elements of information architecture, elements of user research, elements of UI prototyping, high fidelity, low fidelity, wireframes, if you're only doing utility things like that, if you want me to be honest and candid and direct, that is like a sitting dinosaur. You are going to become extinct sooner or later, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because some LLM is now going to give that power to a product builder where they're going to go create this prototype overnight. In fact, if you hang on for a little bit longer, Harsha may actually demonstrate to you. And Harsha is not a product UX designer. He's a product manager. He's a product builder. But you can actually see what Harsha is going to do in front of you, which otherwise would have taken someone like you, Natasha, maybe a couple hours, couple days, and somebody who's not very proficient, maybe a couple weeks of what Harsha is going to show you in few minutes here. That's where we have come, Natasha, and that's the proof point for me to say what I'm saying, which is start becoming a product builder. Leverage your UX skills. Don't reset your career. Leverage that skills, but don't stay where you are because that's not a comfort zone that you may have for too long. Does that make sense, Natasha?
Yeah, it does make sense. So it makes sense to own the product end to end, right?
Correct, correct.
Mm-hmm.
You are the one who is going to have the customer context, the business context, and the innovation context. You are the
Right.
one as a product builder making decisions as opposed to executing on somebody's decisions. That's the big difference.
Right. One more quick question I have. Now, as a UX product designer, it makes sense to, when you build a system, take patents on it, or it makes sense to just move on as product management side, because there are two sides right now.
Say that again. What are the two sides there in your mind?
One is, as a UX designer, when you build a system, you can actually get a copyright, or if it's a great system, you can get a patent on it, or you
Yeah.
just move in and become a product manager and you widen your game. I mean, that's my confusion, really.
Yeah, I think they're both not that different, and quite frankly, the world of patents and enforcement of patents are going to be so tricky, Natasha, in my own opinion, and this is just my own opinion at this point, my own prediction, that it
Mm-hmm.
will not matter. It will not matter. I mean, and there is already pending billion-dollar lawsuits on OpenAI that when OpenAI is giving you answers from the internet, they are serving up content, but that content belongs to somebody else, technically speaking. They are
Yes,
picking
right. Yeah.
excerpts, right? So this is already a gray area, Natasha, as to whose content are you serving. Now the customer is happy that you're giving me the right set of things at the right time based on my right question, but the author of that content is now troubled because it is accordingly, quote unquote, their patent. But
Correct. Yeah.
OpenAI is saying we don't care because it's on the internet. That means we are able to read it, we are able to scrape it, we are able to. And so I think this notion of patent, in my personal opinion, is a fool's paradise to think that we're going to be able to enforce it or do anything meaningful with it. Now, in biology, in certain kind of biosciences, in pharmaceuticals, it's a different story. But even there,
Mhm.
I'm telling you, AI is now doing genome sequencing to almost doing drug discovery on real time. There are
Okay.
AI agents who are like working like human scientists, figuring out cure for diseases that we don't even know yet. And so now, how do you patent that? Right? So I wouldn't worry too much about that. I would worry about the second one, which is move as fast as you can to a product builder role. Build the competencies, in this circle that I referred to, and I think you'll be better off.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Let's see. Kushi, you had a question earlier.
Yes, I was actually on the slide where you were discussing about the predictive AI and Gen AI. So
Ah,
I had a question wherein I just wanted to ask that you said that people with technical background has to go through predictive AI. So yeah, here. So
yeah.
people, is it mandatory for any product manager or a product the one who defines product to have a technical background or to
No.
understand how it is?
No. You don't. So let me clarify what I meant, Kushi. What I'm saying is that if you are a technical person, when I say technical, statistical, mathematical, coding, software engineering, that type of person, right? It is easier for you to enter the door through this particular door, to enter the mall through this particular door. It's easier for you to start doing this, is all I'm saying. It is
Yes, but
not a
on a
prerequisite.
contrary, I was just keen to know that suppose I am not a tech person, but I should at least understand that how to put the skeleton of a product. So when you said that, you have to know this, do you mean that how which feature should go first and which feature should go afterwards?
Correct. Correct.
Is it
Correct.
that
Correct. So what I mean,
defining the roadmap of the product basically?
defining the roadmap, but also defining the choice and usage of models underneath both. So I'm saying that a good product builder, even if you're not technical, let's say you come from this side, you're a business person, you're a sales and
Hmm.
marketing type of person, you're a business analyst, you're a project manager, you're a HR, doesn't matter who you are, by the way. Anybody
Hmm.
can become a product builder. That's the beauty. And
Hmm.
my favorite example to quote is, I don't know if you guys know Canva. Canva is a very popular
Yes.
right, photo. A lot of people use it for photo editing and creating visuals. Before Canva, we had 30,000, or sorry, 300,000 Adobe Photoshop experts in this world. So we only had 300,000, you know, designers, if you will. Since Natasha brought up the design thing, it reminded me of this analogy. So before Canva came in, only few people knew how to build graphics. Only few people knew how to create a nice, good-looking visual poster. Thanks to Canva, now 40 million people, sorry, 4 million people are now on Canva actively building stuff as if they are a graphics designer. And they're pretty good. They're not graphics designer. They're not trained on, the elements of graphics design, but it becomes so easy thanks to Canva that you and I can now create an amazing poster, an amazing video, an amazing visual, right? Now comes ChatGPT 3 years ago. And 40 million people are now generating images through all kinds of video images and image models and so see what's happening now. The skills that was only available to some, which had to have deep understanding of photo design and visual design, all of a sudden is no longer niche because anybody and everybody can do it. That's what's happening with the technology side of data science. Today, you are not expected to learn Python, yet you can learn enough to create a predictive model because there's an open source library. In fact, you can tell LLM to go generate the code, Python code for you. If you knew how prompt engineering worked, which is a skill that you learn here, you can actually now go build this on your own without knowing a single thing about data science. So what I'm saying is you can be whoever. Eventually, you have to learn enough of all three for you to be at the center in the overlapping of all three. Does that make sense? Kushi, you're still there?
Yes,
Okay.
Pinkesh.
You're on mute. Okay, perfect. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. So any other questions? I mean, I can go on with more slides, but I'd rather now maybe invite Harsha. I don't know if Harsha is still here. And is there a way for us to give that? Harsha, you there? Maybe
Harsha is
you
here,
can.
so yeah.
Yep.
Okay, perfect, perfect. There you go. So Harsha, I don't know if you were here or not, but I kind of set up the scene that look, here is, I'm going to take the liberty of bringing somebody who actually does this every day and kind of what we're doing at Delightloop. Maybe give a little glimpse of how do you build a completely new feature, a completely new app on the fly using, design systems that are out of the box, maybe using LLMs by just giving a few prompts and to illustrate maybe elements. I know it's hard to replicate all that in the next 5 minutes, but maybe elements of something that what does a day in a life look like for an AI product manager or a product builder versus a product manager, right? So that's where I thought if you want to kind of share your screen and show something, that'll be useful for the audience.
Yeah, definitely. So let me quickly share my screen. So I'll give a quick glance of how I build stuff with the great speed which is needed now. So let's take an example of a new product which we want to start with the prototype, and then to the prototype, and then take it to early 5 customers and get the feedback. So in this stage, what happens is initially we will be having a lot of discussions, brainstormings, and all these brainstormings and discussions can be recorded either on a phone, or either if it is online, it can be recorded using online tools. Like most of these companies have paid license tools, and then there are free tools like Fathom and Firefly. So all these transcripts can be loaded into a Cloud project, or can be loaded into a chat gpt project, and then we can extract requirements out of it and create a requirements md. So that itself will save a lot of time on whatever discussions happen on the meeting, note taking, and converting that into a requirements. So that the requirement phase, and then we can crank up a lot of role based agents, or role based thread in the same project, be it Claude or be it chat gpt. And this can now help you brainstorm further. You can have an A team which will critique your requirement, and you can also have a research specialist which will go and research existing competitors and share what is the moat that you can come out of your idea. At the same time, you can also spin up a design specific role which will help you identify or brainstorm what are the specific design ideas that we can tackle based on the customer persona, their JTBD, their pains and gains. So this actually opens up many dimensions where we can work and capture the ideas. So that is where exactly I am doing here. So I use Claude, and this is one of the project that we have in mind that we are working on, which is in early stage. And what I do is I build a lot of MD files here internally, which is based on the discussions that we have with the stakeholder or with the customers. I collect that information, I keep on adding it on the requirements MD, so that all my threads within this project knows the context of what I'm talking, rather than going as a free bird and getting from the internet. So this is the first step where I have all my document system set up. Now, once this is done, the next thing immediately that we have to do is the design. So for design, there are multiple applications or multiple tools and libraries that we can use. So I will take an example of a web app, because that is what we are building.
Yeah, Harsha, one second, just to kind of illustrate for those of you who are not familiar with Claude and what is an MD file and how did we get here. But even before that, one important thing to connect to what Harsha is saying, to what we were discussing, is the whole journey of talking to 5, 10, 20, 50 customers, understanding those requirements, mapping it into a requirements document, and creating a user story usually is like 3, 4 people and 3, 4 months to get there. We are saying no 3, 4 months, no 3, 4 people. You simply take the transcript or the recording, the audio recording of that Zoom meeting, and drag and drop all this into the LLM, where the system is going to read, understand, parse, and create requirements document for you. And this is why I mean by why a business analyst role hence is going to become a sitting dinosaur. Because why do I need a business analyst? And by the way, we have 400,000 business analysts in India alone. So this is not a small profession. Now, if you're a business analyst on this call, I'm not saying get scared by listening to what I just have to say, but I am saying that if you don't innovate and elevate yourself to a product builder sooner or later, just doing business analysis, taking requirements from the customer and writing down that document, that's no longer a real job. because it's going to be replaced by the product manager who's already doing product builder role using a tool like what you're seeing on the screen here. So that's kind of the key point to understand why product management is changing, but why, because of product management, the rest of the roles are also changing in the organization, right? That's kind of the thing that I wanted to connect, right? So here is a whole requirements doc created by the system by reading through all the transcripts, all the recordings that you simply uploaded.
Yeah, and interestingly, what I experimented in this is I did not just upload it. After uploading, I actually, in step one, I created a senior product manager thread, and I made it into me, so that I don't miss any edge cases, or I don't miss any cases, or gloss over without getting into nuances. So first step really is to get the specs very clean, because we are moving into code. The code used to be a novelty earlier, but now the specs are the novelty. So we have to spend a lot of time in ironing out the specs, so that the agents or the code generation tools will understand and replicate what is written. So we have to spend a lot of time in the specifications. So once that is done, so what I really do is I use a couple of tools for designers, since I don't come from a designing background. So I use Stitch is one of my favorite tool for initial kind of design brainstorming, I would say, where I would spin up the Stitch. I would explain the problem that we have and the solution that we have in mind, the customer persona, their JTBD, pains and gains, so that the Stitch LLM is now understands what we are trying to solve and whom we are trying to solve. And then I will let it design the mock version of various designs. So what the beauty of Stitch is that, so for example, now this is the flow that I've been working on for creation of a campaign for marketing people. So now once I have this one version up, so what I can do is I can actually click on this and have a multiple types of designs spun up immediately without waiting for design leads or design engineers, which I mean, obviously they will do a better part for this, but it will take time. But now here speed is the goal. So what I do here is I generate a 3 or 4 variants of this to understand which one is better, and I can even take this now and validate with early design partners or early customers to show this mock on what is actually trying to make sense for me. So this is where my first step is in the Stitch. And once the Stitch is done, I know how my mocks look like. And then I go to the design system where I build my own theme. And for that, I use tools like ShatCN is one of my favorite tool, which I think anybody who is trying to build anything on a web stack. So this is a very good tool. It's a free tool, and ShatCN has a lot of components, and all the code generation agents, be it OpenAI, be it Anthropic, they are expert and they know in and out about ShatCN. So ShatCN is one of the tool, and it's free. So this is the tool that I use. This is the component that I use, component library, for all my mocks. Now to design my own design system of how the theme should look like and how the variables of the token should be defined. So there are many multiple free tools for that. So one of my favorite is TweakCN. So in TweakCN now, this is the same ShatCN components. I can design the design system here or the theme on how my system should look like. And once I generate this, and this doesn't need a lot of UI UX skill here. Basically, what I'm doing is defining my primary colors, my brand colors, and my fonts. And once that is set up, so basically all I do is I just export this. This is the CSS now, or this is the token that is generated. And all I need is this for my code generation tool, which could be OpenAI, or which could be Claude, or which could be the Cursor, any of this tool. So that will understand this design system token. So once I have this token, I simply pull up and use it.
One thing to add, if you can stay on that screen, right? And this is the question that I think Khushi had asked earlier, and many of you have this in your mind. So I want to kind of quickly address. Go back to that exported token that the system generated, right?
Yeah.
So this is quote unquote coding, but you did not code anything. There was not a single line of software written by Harsha or by anyone to get to this. Yet, you need to know enough about what is this thing called a index CSS or a tailwind CSS or a token to copy paste this into your chat GPT or Claude. That knowledge you need to have. That's not technical knowledge. That's application of how to use and connect which tool to which tool. So I just want to kind of clarify, when we hear the word technical, we get all worried, and so do not get worried about it. There is zero amount of software coding necessary to do any of which you're seeing here, all the way till it's a working application. Now, I'm not saying that engineers are not going to be needed. To run something that works for 10 customer is different than building something that works for 10 million customers. You require engineering, architecture, all that behind the scene. But for a product builder, you are not replacing an engineer. You are replacing an early version of an engineer where it was going to take you 4 weeks to just build a prototype. You're now going to do that for customer validation in 4 hours. That's the part you're replacing. You're not replacing all of engineering, right? So just going to keep that perspective in mind. And also, number one is knowing what to do is important. You don't have to code, but knowing that this background, with this token, and here is what it does. And if I want a blue to change it to a purple, if I want to change this graph from a rounded corner to a square, all that is your imagination, your creativity. You go and define it. It spits out the code for you, right? Just wanted to kind of highlight that. Looks like Sharat, you also have a question. You've raised your hand. Yeah, is it related to this? You want to ask it now?
It's a kind of related to this. I hope you can hear my voice.
Yes,
So
loud.
the question is like, from where I think from the past 5 to 7 years, there is a thing called as like rapid prototyping, which has been happening, so that they're keep on trying to reduce the code. And now we have reached to a certain extent where AI applications, like by using all of our uh, natural language processing, it is trying to create some UI, UX, and everything. But the question for us is how to show that we are capable of doing all of these in our portfolios or anywhere. I know we are trying to use all the freeware applications and everything, but when I'm trying to use some kind of a cloud application or some other one, it is trying to charge me a hefty fee. And there are some token limitations and tokenizations, the monthly fees, charges, and all of them in terms of dollars. And in order to show my prototypes, I need to spend something around 8 to 10,000 per month as in terms of money to get access to those applications. And when I go for the freeware applications, they said like, limited core tokenizations, they are trying to upgrade, they are trying to sell. But I hope you're trying to understand,
Yeah.
like, how should
Yeah,
I
no,
project my portfolio? Because we do have like knowledge and everything. I can't use my company's credentials and everything, just keep on showing my prototypes to everyone, right?
Yeah, no, look, I think the question, it's a slightly different question, so I'll let Harsha continue with his demo and then I'll address it in more detail. But the short answer is there is so much you can do for free tools. There is a little bit more that you'll have to spend if that portfolio has to be presented in a more polished way and there is a better ROI. By spending that 6,000 rupees or $50, if you're going to land into a role that's going to get you 10 lakhs extra of salary, well, it's worth spending that 6K, in my opinion. So you have to balance this internally with your own thinking. What is the goal for why you are trying to set up, these paid subscriptions? Because there are a lot of free tools, by the way, lot of free tools. And maybe after this call, I'm happy to share some of those which are pretty good and production quality. But there's also a paid version, and whether you want to spend that $50 or not is an individual decision. In my opinion, it's the best decision that I think you will make if you do spend that, because if it leads to a better career growth, if it leads to a better, impressive portfolio and hence a better interview, I'd say it is better spending on that than the Domino's pizza that you're going to be eating tomorrow afternoon.
Okay.
I'm trivializing, but in
Yeah.
my opinion, I would invest in this. And so my general advice, broadly speaking, 10% of your wealth that you generate every year for yourself in whichever company, whichever role, whatever title you're in, 10% of what you produce has to be invested back in you. Now, whatever that
Okay.
10% is, if somebody is making 60 lakhs, that's 6 lakhs for you. If somebody is only making 5 lakhs, that's 50,000 for you. But you need to get into this habit of investing 10%. And when I say you, I don't mean just the AI subscription for these tools. I mean books, I mean education, I mean certification program, whatever it is that you want to do what you want to do, but 10% you have to pledge. Otherwise, you will not continuously upgrade yourself to the latest and greatest, right? So my general advice is get into that habit of doing it every year by 10%. Yeah, and yeah, and you're right. Ashish is saying 10% is conservative. You should do more. I agree. But I'm just saying at a minimum, do 10%. You'll be surprised, Ashish, when I ask this question to people in my class when I'm teaching at the executive MBA cohort in Bangalore, where I fly down to teach. Harsha is, by the way, in one of those programs. That's how I know Harsha well, because he's currently pursuing his executive MBA in product leadership. When I meet people and when I sit down with folks in India, when I ask the question, how many of you have been spending at least 10%? Less than 5 hands go up. Most people are not even spending 10% of what you generate. And I'm not giving you an absolute number. I'm not saying you have to spend 50 lakhs or 5 lakhs or 10,000 rupees. I'm saying 10% of whatever you do. And you'd be surprised, many people don't even do that. So I would say start with 10%, go higher if you can afford to. So short answer is, Sharath, make your choice on what those are, but I'm happy to share some free tools after this call as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, a couple of points on that because I had experience in hiring these people also. So what people now look at is the process rather than what you have built, because LLM are so good now, so they can actually build great stuff. But the process is important, and people actually see your prompts. The product manager interview, they actually review your prompts. They ask to show your prompt library, and they review your prompts. So that's where we are getting into. Okay, so continuing with where we were, so this will help me design my design system and tokens or the variables or the global CSS that I want. And then if I'm a little bit of technical enough, I can actually throw this into the Claude code or anti-gravity or any of these tools, and then start building the application. So I can also use this code on the front-end designing tools like Figma Make or V0, or I can even use it on Lovable and also try to build a mockups. So I also have something which I keep building on the Figma Make. So we use Figma Make because I have a design system on Figma. So I use that for Figma Make. So here also we build some of the app, which this is to add features to our existing products. And here we get actually a feel of a mock, which we can actually straight away take and get early validations. So these are the powerful things that we can do with the AI builder.
Hi, Harsha. Vamsi here. I have a quick question. So, if we have to, so most of these tools are free and available, but if I have to build a product and if I'm building a product for my organization, most of these are obviously not accessible through office laptops, and I have to do this in my personal laptop and then do it again. So, how do you approach this if you want to use some of these tools for an office application? And so how do you approach this basically? So because most of these you are anyway not accessible through office laptops.
So my understanding here is that every organization now is moving into the utilization of AI. So whatever is recommended within the organization, all of these tools which is recommended within the organization, like if it is Visual Studio Code has that, and there is an MCP that we can connect to any of these web designing platforms. So we can use existing tools, but if the organization is not at all using any tools or not licensed any tool, I think high time that they are lagging back. We have to do that. So my answer for that is each and every organization, at least that I know of, have some of these tools, which either developer has access to or the design team has access to, but they do have access to these tools. So I am showing that we are using in Delightloop, but need not be necessary, or I'm not recommending that we actually use.
I think, Pragyan, can you go off? Yeah.
So just in the context of rapid prototyping,
Hmm.
like, for some highly regulatory organizations, usually they tend to have, very few LLMs access to very few LLMs, organization level data, etc. Right? So in the context of rapid prototyping, how do you approach to build a prototype as early as possible with all these limitations in place? I'm not sure. I mean, in my opinion, most of the organizations have these limitations of having access to other public tools.
Yeah, let me answer that question, Vamsi, and maybe the context is important, right? Again, we are not saying violate the rules and frameworks of usage within your org on what LLM to use or not use, right? Use your judgment, follow the rules, do what you have to. But I think the question is different here. The question is about your career, not what you do at work. Don't confuse the two things. What you do at work is what you do at work, and you have to follow the rules. What you do for yourself, you create your own rules. Why are you restricted by what your company is allowing or not allowing you to do? If you have to interview for a role, for example, with me, and I am the hiring manager and I'm looking at for a director of product management and you are wanting to take that role with me, your job is to impress me with what you can do yourself, not what you've done at your work. A lot of people make this mistake that you're constantly building your brand by leveraging the company's brand. And my recommendation is in today's world, especially in 2026, you need to build your brand. You need to say, I am, I'm just using Kushi since Kushi asked the question. I am Kushi, and this is what I do. I also happen to work at Cisco. Not the reverse, which is I'm Kushi, I am a senior, marketing manager at Cisco, and hence who I am. So who you are should not be defined by where you work. I'm trying to be very bold at the same time, trying to be candid here with you. I'm not saying break the rules. But don't confuse rules with your personal brand and your personal growth, right? You are in charge of your personal growth, not your company. So in that case, you should build whatever you want to build with whichever LLMs you want to build and with whichever tools that you want to experiment till you prove to me that you have the, like Harsha said, the methodology, the skill sets, and can you demonstrate those skill sets? It's not about what you built either. Don't confuse with, hey, how good is your UX design and prototype look like? I'm sure it's going to look great. But even if it sucks, it doesn't matter. The point is, how did you get there? What process did you use? What skills did you deploy? That is what I'm evaluating if I'm the hiring manager looking at you. And I've hired hundreds of product managers, thousands of people in my life. And I'm telling you, this is what we look for. To give me proof of skills. Don't give me a resume because resume based hiring is dead. Let me repeat one more time for dramatic effect. Resume based hiring is dead. Nobody gives a damn about your resume. Because, by the way, everybody's resume looks amazing thanks to, again, AI, right? Many of you who must have tried this already. I tried this myself a couple of years ago just to see. I put my resume through, I gave a prompt and say, can you please dress up this resume for this role? And what came back was so good that even I could not recognize this as me. So everybody's resume looks great. Everybody has the right keywords in it. Everybody has the right credentials, right? Whatever certification, four-letter words, whatever it is. So then how do I know who's real and who's not? The only thing that matters is proof of skills, demonstrable portfolio, right? So keep that perspective in mind. Okay, so with that, I think we're way past our time that we want to thank you, Harsha, for that quick glimpse into a day in a life of a product builder in the AI first world. And this is just UX. That you can do the same thing with model selection. You can do the same thing with requirements. You can do the same thing with systems design. You can do the same thing with marketing messages. You can do the same thing with creating blogs and posts to start building the sales channel. It's amazing the kind of things that the product builder can do versus the product manager was doing until last year. And that's the transition that I think each one of you need to start building and thinking, how do I build the skills as fast as I can? How do I learn these competencies as fast as I can so that I evolve to become a product builder? Because that's what's hot in demand and that's what's high growth right now from the industry perspective. Right. Hopefully this was useful. I'll pause, see if there's a question or two. Vishal, back to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pinkesh. Folks, pausing here for a moment in case we have more questions. I'm seeing the chat also right now. Okay.
Oh,
Pinkesh, there are
so
some questions in.
one small request. I think whatever the websites that Harsha mentioned, those be shared with us or with this group? It was very helpful.
Absolutely. We everything that I shared and Harsha shared is for all of you. There is no limit or there is no control of only accessible to certain. Whether you are an alumni of the institute, whether you are not, it doesn't matter. We are here to ensure that we're giving you candid help as you make important decisions about your career growth, and we hope you make them well and make them quick because the time is moving fast, right? And so constantly learn is the best time to learn was yesterday. Yeah, the best time to build skills was day before yesterday, right? And so keep that sense of urgency. And so yes, happy to share. I'm sure Harsha, you wouldn't mind putting that list together, right?
No, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
sure.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Nitin, you can go ahead. Kushi will take the question. Nitin, I understand you're joining from browser, but go ahead if you can speak. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead.
So I have a very simple question. Actually, I am a project manager and I have a good knowledge of business analysis and all those things and product life cycles and product life cycles, everything. Uh, Not in this context. I just want to know what is the typical KPIs which are related to product manager, or it is just a normal day. If there is no AI, then what exactly be the day-to-day activity of product manager, and what are the KPIs for it?
I'll give you the simple answer, but there is a lot more nuance and details to it, right? At the end of the day, there's only three things that matter for a good product leader, right? One is growth in customer in terms of the usage and the number of customers. Second, growth in revenue. And third, growth in delight. That's the only thing that matters. Now, under each one, there are many, many KPIs that you can come up and say, hey, how fast are we delivering features? What is this velocity of our road mapping? What is the, right? I mean, you can come up with all the details. But at the end of the day, these three are the leading indicators, right? First is number of users. Are people using this product? Forget paying. I'm not confused. Don't confuse money with usage. Usage is equally important, even if they don't pay, because that means your software or your system or your product is actually being appreciated, is desirable by customers. People are dying to buy, dying to use, cannot live without, right? So that's the first one. Second is growth in revenue. At the end of the day, if you're not making money, and if you're not growing the business, it's a hobby. It's not a business. It's a nice passion project. It's a nice hobby, but as a product leader, you're not growing this further. And third, growth in delight. Growth in delight is even more important in today's world because the best way to grow your one and two is to have number three. One happy customer will refer five more, and five happy customers will refer 25 more. So if you think about it, this is why we don't need sales anymore, or we need less sales. No offense to all the salespeople on this call, but honestly, if you're a salesperson on this call, you have even a bigger problem ahead of you, which is how do I become relevant just selling? Because in the context of today, today we have, automated selling happening. Product is selling, product is self-selling. So as a product builder, that is what is very important. Are you delighting customer or are you just satisfying customer? There's a difference between satisfy and delight. Take a look at the LinkedIn blog that I had posted a few months ago, where I kind of created and shared a user framework, USER, right? So you can build something that is usable. You can build something that is, significant, but at the end of the day, you want to build something that's USER, right? R is the people are raving about it. Like people cannot stop talking about it. And that's delight in a true sense, which is difficult to do, but that's the real goal. So those are the three metrics, Nitin, that matter.
Yeah. So other than creating a prototype and a first use case model, basically there are a lot many strategies which are going behind all these three KPIs, right? So
Yeah, the whole life cycle. I mean, if you look at the whole circle again, right? So if you go back and if you tie this back, sorry, I have this here somewhere. Yeah, same slide deck, right? So if you look at this, this is the ultimate deck that you want to look at, the grid that you want to look at, right? Oops, that one. So every single one is an important skill to manage the life cycle of the product. How am I gonna prototype it is just one part. Second is how big is the market? Can you,
Requesting everyone to please mute yourself.
again, you keep on coming back. I don't know what you're doing, but it's disrupting the class. So prototyping, building, business planning, right? If you go through the circle, all of these are essentially metrics that manage the life cycle of the product, right? Pricing, packaging, this is a very important decision. Like, how am I going to price the product? There are 14 different revenue models and 6 different pricing analytics. This itself is a full-time job for some products in some company. So each one of this is a skill, Nitin. Yeah, does that make sense?
yeah.
Thank you so much, Nitin. Thank you so much, Pinkesh. Pinkesh, one last question from Kushi. Kushi, I think
Yes.
you raised your hand. Go ahead, please.
Thanks, Vishal, for this opportunity. So, Pinkesh, I'm really glad that I am a part of this session. Thank you so much for this, knowledge that you have shared. As you've already mentioned that we were already talking about sales and marketing. So I would just like to understand, this is out of like a curiosity that I wanted to ask somebody who can explain with this. So sales and marketing, according to me, is communicating with the customer, understanding the requirement, and linking up the product to the requirement. Similar goes the role of product manager, but not in terms of the only difference I see is sales and marketing. You already have a product ready, you're just customizing it and giving it to the customer. But whereas in a product, you take the requirements, you build the product along with the entire strategy, and at the same time, you have to present the strategies to different teams like the designers, the developers, the QAs, and the AWS, like the server management team and all. So this is what I have somewhere back in my mind. So please correct me if I am wrong. You're on mute, Pinkesh.
I think that's a good simple way to understand the delta or the difference between these roles, right? A sales and a marketing professional is micro focused in taking what has been built and connecting to as many personas as we call, as many ideal customer profile, ICP as we call it, so that more and more people are aware of it and more people end up consuming and buying. So it's a micro focus. Product management is a lot more broad focus, including sales and marketing, which is a subset, but their focus is to say, I'm not going to sell, but I'm going to build something that is easy to sell. I'm going to build and then train someone on how to sell, but I'm actually not selling. So it's 1:many versus 1:1. Sales and marketing is a little bit more 1:1. Product management is 1:many. I'm building a product for 5 million customers. I don't have time to sit down for each one and explain to them why they should buy. That's what sales and marketing team will do. but I need to build something that is equally applicable to 4.5 out of that 5 million. And how do I do that? That strategy, like you said, pricing, packaging, messaging, all of that decision making is what product builders do, product managers
So
do.
having an experience with sales and marketing will be an
Help.
add-on to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Helps significantly.
Okay,
Helps
thank you.
significantly, right? So that's
Thank
why
you.
a lot of people think only engineers become product managers. This is actually bad myth. This is
Yep, yep.
absolutely false narrative. Especially in India, statistically, people use this to wrongly infer. And I understand that statistically in India, 70% of product managers come from engineering or technical background. But that's just because it is like enough engineers there, and so of course there are enough engineers in the system. More and more people are gonna come from an engineering background. That is not a requirement. That is not a necessity, for us. My favorite. I'll end this with my favorite, story. I don't know if you guys saw many years ago. I was actually in India and I saw this Economic Times headline that give up chicken so that your kids can enter IIT Chennai. And I thought it was a very, I thought it was a very bold Economic Times headlines, right? And so that got my interest. So I started reading. And the author essentially explains that 80% of the students who got admitted to IIT Chennai, some year, I forgot which year, were all vegetarians. So what is the conclusion? The wrong conclusion, but what is the natural conclusion? If 80% of people who got admitted to IIT Chennai are vegetarian, clearly, if you're a vegetarian, you have a high chance to get into IIT Chennai. Now, all the senior guys on this call are laughing at it because that's not how you make decisions. That's not the right way of inferring things, but yet we make the same inferences in our own life. Look around. 70% of product managers are technical in India. So you must have to have technical knowledge because data doesn't lie. Well, turns out that the data is not lying. The data storyteller is lying in this case. Right? So that's
From
kind of
my
how,
personal experience, at least I have seen when I'm defining a product right now in my startup, I have seen that my technical sales experience has helped me a lot in understanding what a
yeah,
customer might expect and the product can itself sell. As you said that the third API would be customer delight. So that is what I was like, thinking about. Like when I have communicated
yes,
with so many people, so I know what
yes.
is the people are expecting from a product.
Absolutely. No, I
So
think you're
that's all.
thinking the right way. And I just want to make sure that this myth is not something people use and then go sign up for some data science class and go sign up for some Python coding class, thinking that that's my ticket to become a product manager. It's an absolute waste of time. Now, if you are interested, you want to learn something, go, of course, sign up for whatever you want to sign up for. But this notion that I have to become technical and then only I can become a product manager is absolutely not true. Wasn't true before. It's even not true, even more so now with what you just saw, that anybody can do, what a new AI product manager does in a day, typical day in a life, right? So I gotta pause now. I gotta run to my other work meeting, but happy to connect and wish you all the very best. Hopefully this was useful.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pinkesh. Thank you so much, Pinkesh, for doing that. And to rest of the folks, thank you again. Well, I was actually sharing the screen. I'm sure that few people have more sets of questions. Go ahead, guys. Scan the QR code. One of my representative from the counselor team will connect back with you, and will answer all your queries. I'm pausing here for at least like 2 to 3 seconds. Go ahead, scan the QR code. Thank you again. And yet again, thank you, Harsha, again, for coming at such a short notice. I know that I couldn't introduce yourself also, but again, thank you so much for doing that. I think that the audiences has got the context also that what you're doing and how great we are going to achieve the milestones which we have created. So thank you once again, Harsha. For the rest of the folks, I'm pausing here for a moment, because this is very important for me to gather the feedback for the session. This is really, really important. Requesting everyone to please cast your vote out. How was the rating? How was the session all about? How was the speaker? And me as a host, I got the comment from Vishal. Thank you so much, Vishal, for the kind words. Thank you so very much. It really motivates me a lot in order to do continue the work which I'm doing right now. And folks are really requesting everywhere. I think my colleague Esther might have also responded some DMs to all of you who have raised their questions in front of Pinkesh to submit their feedback about the session. So pausing here again for a few seconds. Thank you. And that's it. Thank you so much again. And once again, for making yourself available, and have a great rest of the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.